Hello everyone. Today's session is going to start in a fairly relaxed way, lying down in a semi-supine position. If you have a strap handy, you could use that, or skipping rope or something, but not essential. And for the end of the session, we may do something with a couple of bricks if you've got those, or a bolster is great, or a pile of books, or even a couple of folded blankets. But if you don't have any of those things, then don't worry, that's optional. I'll have the strap handy there. So come into, we'll come into a full supine position, into Shavasana to begin with. So making yourself comfortable, and we'll begin with some breathing just to settle into the session. So just coming into your Shavasana posture with the arms by the sides and the feet a little wider than hips width. Feet are rolling out, relaxing the whole body. And we'll take one long deep inhalation in breathing into the abdomen and the rib cage. And just hold that in-breath for a couple of counts. Try and relax the body as you hold the breath. And then release, breathing out through the mouth, through the lips. You can make a slight sighing noise perhaps. And that should help all the muscles of the body to relax. And then becoming aware of your breath. Aware of the breath flowing in through the nostrils, down the back of the throat, into the upper body. Just seeing where the air naturally goes. Feeling the slight touch of the breath around the nostrils. Being aware of the slight expansion and contraction of the rib cage and slight rise and fall of the abdomen. And then we're starting to lengthen out the breath, so we can start to deliberately pull the air down, all the way down into the abdomen. Becoming aware of an increased rise and fall of the abdomen. Feeling the navel rising on the in-breath and beginning to actively pull the navel down on the out-breath. And begin to deepen the breath further, so we're breathing into the abdomen, feeling the abdomen expand, and then taking the breath into the rib cage, feeling the ribs expanding in all directions. And as you breathe out, allowing the rib cage to collapse first, and then drawing down on the abdominal muscles. So continuing with a few more rounds of this full breath, breathing into the abdomen, breathing into the rib cage, maybe holding the in-breath just for a count or two at the top, and then exhaling. And keeping the in-breath about the same length as the out-breath. Starting to feel as though the body's waking up. Perhaps you're doing this first thing in the morning. It's quite a good session to do first thing in the morning, in fact. Drawing in the air, drawing in the energy into the body. And then on the next inhalation, taking the arms up and back behind you and stretching with the in-breath from the fingertips down to the toes. And then as you breathe out, keeping the arms back but clenching the fists and flexing the feet and pushing away through the heels. So as you breathe in, stretching the fingers, pointing the feet and feeling a stretch down the front of the body. And as you breathe out, clenching the fists and flexing the feet, and feeling a stretch down the back of the body. A couple more times. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, stretching up the front of the body. Exhaling, stretching down the back of the body. And then we can bring the arms back to the sides. And bring the feet flat to the floor, so bending the knees and bringing the feet flat to the floor. And we'll have the strap handy. But we'll begin by coming into Apanasana. So we'll start by bringing the right knee in towards the chest, interlinking the hands to the top of the right shin, keeping the left foot flat to the floor to begin with. And pulling gently vertically down, keeping the hands right close to the knee. So you feel you're pulling the knee vertically down and you're not curling up the base of the spine. So keeping that left foot flat to the floor will help you to keep the sacrum flat to the floor just by pressing down lightly through the left foot at the same time as you gently ease down on the right knee. So holding that position with the pelvis and the right knee, then stretching the left leg out along the floor, flexing the left foot, pushing away through the left heel. So awareness of the base of the spine in contact with the mat. Chest might be lifting slightly, shoulders are pushing down into the floor. You can give them perhaps a little small wriggle to get the shoulder blades flat to the floor. Awareness of the back of the head on the floor. And then we'll concentrate on breathing a bit more into the chest. And then we'll bring the left hand onto the left hip, keeping the hips and pelvis level as we take the right knee out to the side. Keeping the right knee as close into the side of the body as you can. And then you could always move the right hand onto the inside of the knee and just use the weight of the right arm to help open out the hip. But again, checking that you're not rolling over, keeping that hand on the left hip to inform you of where the pelvis is, keeping the pelvis level. And then bringing the knee back to the centre, hugging with both hands. And then we'll extend the right foot up towards the ceiling, so this is where you could use the strap. So if you have a strap or a sleeping robe or a bath robe strap, you could place that around the foot. If you don't have a strap, then just extend the heel towards the ceiling as best you can, and you can grasp around the leg with the hands, probably somewhere below the knee. But you really want to work at straightening the leg, not too hard because we're just starting to wake up the hamstrings, but we're working on getting it toward a straight leg. Having the strap makes that slightly easier because you can use the weight of the arms to pull down on the strap or pull down on the toe end of the foot. But over time, you will start to bring the foot further back, but don't do that at the expense of the knee. So we'll, if anything, just let go of the strap or allow that leg to move away from you so that you can straighten at the knee joint. And if you've got the strap again, you're using the weight to pull the leg vertically down as though you're pulling the leg bone down into the hip joint. Okay, and then we'll release, bring the right foot flat to the floor, keep that right knee bent as we bring the left knee into the chest. And again, as before, keeping the right foot pressing lightly down into the floor to help keep the sacrum flat onto the mat as we squeeze gently down on the left hip joint, flexing at the left hip joint. So we're using the right leg lightly, we're pulling on the left leg, but the rest of the body we're trying to relax. Keeping the face muscles relaxed in particular will help to relax everything else. So then keeping the pelvis fixed in position and the left knee where it is, we can then extend the right foot out along the floor, flexing the right foot. Keeping your awareness on the breathing. And then we can place the right hand on the right hip and take the left knee out to the side. Again, trying to keep the left knee in towards the side of the body. The knee won't go anywhere near the floor with most people. Keeping the pelvis level, avoiding it rolling over to the side. And then knee back to the centre line and extending the left leg up to the ceiling using the strap. So there will be one or two of you who may feel they can reach the left big toe with their hand. But again, don't do that if it's at the expense of bending the knee. So the strap is useful for this posture if you do have one. Just have the hands high enough so that the arms are hanging off the strap, but the shoulders are still on the floor. And that way you're keeping open across the top of the chest at the same time. But if you've got no strap again, you can just interlink the hands behind the leg. And then releasing, bring the left foot to the floor, bringing the right foot flat to the floor, taking the feet out towards the sides of the mat. We'll take the arms out to the sides or bring them into a goalpost position, and we'll do some windshield wiping with the knees. Rolling the knees over towards the floor on each side, you'll feel the pelvis rolling over at the same time. So we're bringing some movement into the hip joints, but also starting to bring twisting motion more into the lower back, which is starting to wake up the muscles in the lower back. And then coming to the centre, we'll hug the knees. So you can bring the arms around the upper shins, take an in-breath, and as you breathe out, see if you can lift the forehead or the nose towards the knees, lifting the shoulders slightly off the floor. Releasing down. So then we can try a little bit of back massage. If you cross the feet at the ankles, see if you can take hold of the toes, right big toe with left hand, left big toe with right hand. And we can start to roll, do some spine rolling. Feel it massaging the muscles either side of the spine. And then if you can, just little bits of extra momentum to come up to a cross-leg position. And then drawing the feet back, coming over onto all fours. So we'll bring the heels of the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips, and we'll do some cat-cow flexions. Feeling the motion coming from the base of the spine and moving up the spine to the head at the beginning of each in-breath and out-breath. So as you breathe in, imagine the inner thighs are rotating backwards. As you breathe out, feel the tailbone tilting downwards. Become aware of the spine, become aware of the muscles in the back of the body. So then we could take the hands slightly further forwards and slightly wider, and we'll do a little back and forwards motion with this. So now as we breathe in, we're moving forwards over the hands. As we go back, we're pushing back towards the heels, not too far back. So you could imagine that you are inside a large sphere, and you're using the back of the body to kind of polish the upper inner surface. So as you push back, you're pushing the shoulders up first, hunching the shoulders, and then moving back. And as you sink back, then you're starting to open the chest and come forwards. And it's going in the opposite direction. And then coming back to the centre. So now we could imagine we're in a large tube, and we want to clean the inside by rotating kind of round the tube. So we push down through the hands to lift the back, and then move to the left, and then move down. And up the right hand side, across the top, over to the left, down the left side, across the bottom, up the right hand side. So moving in circles with the back. Stop at the top and go back the other way. Come back to the centre, and then we'll just place the backs of the hands onto the mat to ease out the wrists. So when you're doing this in a kind of all fours position, you can start with the elbows bent, and then over time working on gradually straightening the arms. And pausing there in that position, just feeling, might be a slight discomfort, shouldn't hurt. Allowing the hands and the wrists to relax into that position. And then coming forwards again, we'll do the opposite arm leg stretch. So we'll stretch the left leg out behind you. Keep the toes pointing down, push your way through the right, to the left, through the left heel, and then take the right arm to the ear, thumbs pointing up. Draw the shoulder back. Engage the core muscles, feeling that the pelvis is level, and then lowering and lifting the right leg, toes pointing down, pushing away through the heel, trying to open out the back of the right knee, and then left arm to left ear, again, thumb pointing up. Both hands down. Then we'll just stretch the left leg back again, but we'll keep the toes on the floor, tucked under, push way through the left heel, feeling the hamstring starting to stretch. And then just see if you can lift the right knee just slightly off the floor. And lower. Bring the left knee back, extend the right leg, toes on the floor. Push way through the right heel. What I should have said is when we're in this position, push down through the hands, and again you're sort of slightly pushing the upper back towards the ceiling. And then see if you can lift that left knee lightly off the floor. And then lower down, back to all fours. And just sort of wriggle the shoulders around a bit. Give the hands another shake out. And then tucking the toes, push up to a downward facing dog. And we can do some walking dogs. Walking the dog, pushing alternate heels towards the floor. Maybe some stretching down the sides of the body by swiveling the hips to each side, pivoting the feet around the balls of the feet. A nice stretch from the shoulders to the hips. Back to the centre, lower the knees to the floor and sink back onto the heels into a child posture. Pause here. And then we'll move up and down to downward facing dog 2 or 3 times with the breath. So as you breathe in, we come to all fours, looking forwards, lengthening front of the body. As you breathe out, tap the toes, push back to down dog. Breathing in, knees to the floor, look forwards. Breathing out, sit back onto the heels. Breathing in all fours. Breathing out, down dog, keeping the breath flowing smoothly throughout the movement. Inhaling all fours, exhaling down dog, child. Inhaling all fours and exhaling down dog, and holding the down dog position. Feeling the shoulder blades moving down the back and being flattened against the back of the rib cage. You could deliberately bend the knees and try and tilt the pelvis up. Draw in the lower ribs, so we're using those corseting transverse abdominal muscles, and feel a nice lengthening down the spine and the waists and the sides of the rib cage. And then stepping forward with the right foot to the right hand, bring the left knee down, hands onto the front leg, stretching the arms up, and that right knee can edge forwards. And then bring the hands back down, all fours, down dog. Left foot forwards, so the left hand, right knee to the floor. Bring the hands up onto the front knee, raise the arms, allow the knee to inch forwards, the hips moving down and forwards. And then hands down, step forwards. Inhale to a half forward bend, you can place the hands on the shins. Exhale, full forward bend, allowing the knees to bend. And then we'll roll up, so keep the knees bent, roll the spine up. And then rolling the shoulders. And we'll give the arms a nice shake out. Get the hands and the fingers completely loose and floppy. And keep that going as you then shake out the right leg. Try and make the right foot, the right ankle floppy. And then we can keep the arms flailing and Switch leg, shake out the left foot. Okay, and then rolling the shoulders. One way and then the other. Then bringing the feet together, and we'll pause in Tadasana. Allowing the body to settle and the breath to settle. And then we'll step the feet wide, coming into a Warrior Two posture. Starting with the feet parallel and then just strengthening the legs. And we'll raise the arms and stretch up. And drawing the hands back down. Bringing the hands onto the hips and turning the right foot out. If you do it with your left foot, so I'll do it in mirror image. So turn your left foot to the end of the mat, push the right heel away. Think about the hips, working towards being parallel with the edge of the mat. And then keeping the hips level. In fact, think about the front hip, the left hip there, moving upwards, if anything, as the left knee moves forwards. Left knee ending up over the heel. And then raising the arms into the Warrior Two position. So we could bring the arms forwards, lift them up, and then drop the shoulders down. Hold the shoulder blades where they are as you bring the arms back to the horizontal. Fingers are probably slightly apart, pointing away. And then looking along the right arm. And glance down to make sure your knee's not coming in, it's moving out toward the left. Feeling that back foot. You can always try lifting and spreading the toes of your back foot. Feel the outer edge of that foot in contact with the mat. Feel the right knee rotating outwards. And then we'll bring the right hand to the hip, turn the left palm up, and this is a variation on the reversed version of Warrior Two. Lengthening up the right waist, also trying to lengthen the left waist so it's not crunching. And then coming back to Warrior Two. And then we'll come into Parsvakonasana. So you can bring the left forearm onto the front leg. Lift the right arm, bring that forwards. Anybody who has a brick handy could bring that left hand down onto a brick, maybe on the inside of the foot. Looking to the side or turning the head towards the ceiling. Right hand, rotate the little finger downwards. And then windmilling back to the centre, we'll do that to the other side. So turn the right foot out, push the left heel out. Again, hands on the hips to start with. And as you bend the front knee, think of the right hip lifting, if anything, not tilting forwards, that is, into your leg position for Warrior Two. And we take the arms out to the sides, bring them forwards, up, drop the shoulders down, arms back to the horizontal. And looking along the right arm. Active left leg, active left foot. And then bringing the left hand to the hip this time, turn the right palm up, raise the right arm. Stretching up the right side of the body. Keeping the left knee moving forwards. And then back to Warrior Two, and then Parsvakonasana. finding that nice stretch down the arm, down the upper side of the body, down the left leg, and then we're windmilling back up. We'll do a forward bend, push both heels out slightly so the outer edges of the feet parallel. We can put the hands on the hips, draw the elbows, the shoulders back, fold forwards halfway, lengthen forwards on an in-breath, exhaling, planting the hands on the floor. They could be on bricks. Pausing here, and then starting to fold further forwards, bringing the hands back as you do. Want to have the palms flat to the floor, fingers facing forwards. And you can start to push the floor forwards to bring the upper body between the legs. Think of the weight on the feet should be roughly equal between the ball of the foot and the heel. So don't allow the weight to fall to the back of the foot. Walking the hands forwards to the halfway position. Pause here. Bring the hands to the hips. Lengthen up. Raise both arms, looking up, breathing in. And bring the hands back down through the centre. And then we can jump the feet together or heel toe together. And come back to the front of the mat. Tadasana. And then inhaling, raised arms. Exhaling, folding forwards. Inhaling, half forward bend. Exhaling, full forward bend, Uttanasana. We'll hold in Uttanasana. Various options here. You could actually hold the hands onto the ankles to help gently pull the body downwards. Or you could bring the first two fingers around the big toes, coming into Hasta Padangusthasana. And then breathe into the half forward bend again. And exhaling on the hands, step back with the right foot, bring the right knee down, we're into a lunge, pausing here, breathing into the chest. And then bring the hands up onto the left knee. Well, again, we'll do this mirror image actually so that you can see what I'm doing. So if you want, you could switch sides and bring your right knee forwards. So then we'll lift your left arm, if you've got the right knee forwards, and stretch over to the right, lengthening up the left side of the body. And then bringing that left elbow down, and we can bend forwards over the right leg to get the elbow outside the knee. And then bring the other hand, so we come into a prayer position. Again, starting by bending forwards will help you to get into this position. And then you can start to straighten the back. If that's too difficult, just keep the left hand on the knee and the right hand on the hip. So variation of Parivrtta Parsvakonasana. So pause here, or if you want, you can make it more difficult and tuck the left toes and straighten the back leg. And then lowering the back knee, come back to face the front, and we'll step back into a downward facing dog. And then stepping forwards with your left foot. Again, I'll do it in mirror image, bringing the right knee to the floor. Bring the hands up onto the knee, let's just ease into the lunge. And then lifting the right arm and stretching over to the left. Getting a stretch up the right side of the body. And then we can bring the right elbow outside the left knee. Again, we can hunch forwards over that leg to help get the arms in position, and maybe you can bring the palms together and then start to straighten the back. And hold in that position, or if you want, tuck the right toes, straighten the back leg. And then lowering the knee, come back to face the front. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. So we're going to come forwards through a plank. If it's too strong for you, just come into an all fours position. Otherwise, bring the weight forwards into a plank, shoulders over the heels of the hands. Push back through the heels. Upper back should be roughly horizontal, and you can think about pressing down to the hands and again slightly hunching the upper back. So you're pushing that space between the shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. And then to lower down, bring the weight forward slightly. You can put the knees straight down to the floor first and then lower down. Or if you want some extra work, just try lowering the whole body, keeping the elbows in to a prone position. And then we'll pause there. You can bring the hands forwards, rest the chin, rock the pelvis, allow the heels to roll out to the sides. Slow the breath. And then we'll bring the arms forwards, slightly out to the sides, coming up into a gentle or half cobra. So press down through the palms of the hands to start to lift the chest. And that's as though you're kind of squeezing the armpits. The upper arms are rotating outwards. Engage the legs, push back through the balls of the big toes. And then lower back down. And we'll bring the hands back a bit further, so we've got the hands or the fingertips roughly where the shoulders are. Bring the elbows into the sides of the rib cage, and we'll do the hovering hands exercise. So as you breathe in, think of the sternum moving forward slightly and up to hover the hands off the floor, and then breathing out, lowering back down, so bringing the nose down. So as you breathe in, the nose moves forwards as well. As you lift up, lowering back down as you breathe out. Breathing in, lifting up, hovering hands, holding that position, then just lightly touch the palms to the floor, make a bit of contact, keep the elbows into the sides of the body, then start to press down more through the palms, so you're just supporting the upper body where it is. Don't try and lift the upper body further. You're now taking some of the effort out of the back muscles. Think of the elbows moving downwards. And then from here you could start to press down slightly harder through the palms and start to lift the chest more, but only as far as is comfortable for you. And then lower down. And then releasing, bring the chin onto the hands. We'll raise the feet and sway the feet from side to side. Feel the pelvis moving, rotating from side to side slightly. And then we'll push back through all fours to a child posture. So we can do this with the lower legs parallel or together. Sink down onto the heels and bring the hands back to the feet, palms face up. Resting the forehead on the floor. If you can't reach the floor with the forehead, you could keep the hands in front and rest the forehead on the hands, or rest the forehead on a block. And allow the shoulders to release. Again, creating space in the upper back between the shoulder blades. And once more, allowing the body to settle, allowing the breath to settle. Okay, and then lifting back up into a kneeling position. So I'm going to maintain a kneeling position here. This is a version of Vajrasana. If that's uncomfortable, you could always put a folded blanket under the legs behind the knee, or come into a cross-leg position is good as well. And I'm going to bring the hands up to the shoulders, keep the upper body lifting, and we'll do some dynamic twisting. Breathing into the centre, out as you turn to the side. And back to the centre, and we'll do a bit of work on the shoulders. So it's kind of a dynamic cow posture. So take the arms out to the side to begin with, and then we bring one arm up as we bring the other hand behind. And we're trying to keep the hands away from the back of the body. And we're doing this in a dynamic way, so you don't actually need to try and clasp the fingers or anything. So as you come up, you're taking the arms back out to the sides, and then going the other way, keeping nice and open across the clavicle bone. And then wherever you've got to next, just holding there, and then if you can reach the fingertips together to clasp the hands, that's good. Otherwise, just take hold of the back of your shirt, just to create a slight tension between the hands, and then working to take the elbows further back. And then we come around other way, and again either interlinking the fingers or taking hold of the back of your shirt, taking the elbows back behind you. Then releasing, bring the arms back out to the sides. We'll come into the eagle posture with the arms so across right arm over left, trying to cross past the elbows. Bring the hands up. If you can, interlink the little finger onto the thumb. You might get the fingers onto the palm, but do keep the fingers pointing up. Don't bend the fingers. And then think of, again, we'll create space between the shoulder blades. You can hunch forward slightly if I come around to the side. So we can hunch into this slightly, but then keep the elbows lifting and the hands moving away from you. And then do that the opposite side, so crossing the left arm over the right. You might just have the backs of the hands together. And once more, allowing the shoulder blades to move apart. Elbows are lifting, hands moving away from you. And releasing. Stretching the legs out. And coming into the twist Ardha Matsyendrasana, we'll bring the, which way should we go? I think we'll bring the left foot outside the right leg to start with. And if you do this in mirror image, so you bring your right leg outside your left leg. And then, as usual, we can keep the leg extended or bring the leg around to the hip. And then we'll take your left arm behind, draw the body up. Well, actually go the other way, that's right. So take your right hand behind, I'm getting completely confused today. And use your left hand to hold the right knee. Draw the body up, and then you're starting to turn to your right. So then we can once more try it like we did with the revolved Parsvakonasana. We can bend forwards over that knee and see if we can bring the left elbow outside the right knee. So bending forwards will help you to get into that position, and then from that position you can start to straighten up. So just an alternate way into this posture. If you find that that's still too much of a twist, then keep the hand on the knee instead. And then going the other way. So right heel to left hip, if you can, left foot outside right leg. Left hand behind you, draw the body up, and now we're going to be bowing down over the left knee, bringing the right elbow around if you can, and then from that position straightening up. And back to the front. So we're going to come into a supported bridge posture. This is where the bricks come in handy. So I'm going to be using the bricks. Alternatives could be a thick cushion. So if you like a zafu, you could use that, or a bolster, or actually what I've got over here handily is a disc set, so you could use something like that. That's actually quite a good size if you've got one of these DVD sets. It doesn't have to be Hercule Poirot. So have the bricks handy just to the side. You could use one or two, and we're going to come back into a semi-supine position. Feet hips width, roughly parallel. And then you're going to press down through the feet to lift the pelvis and slide your brick or bricks underneath the sacrum. So it needs to be under the sacrum, not under the lower back, which will just do a bit of damage. If it's too far forwards, then the lower back dips down, which don't want either. So we're trying to keep the pelvis level. So placing the brick under the sacrum, and if you can, maybe a second brick. And then we can bring the hands to the sides, and once you've got these arranged in a good position, then that should be quite a relaxing position to be in. Can take the feet slightly apart and allow the knees to come together. So pausing here, this is just a nice relaxing position to be in. And then you could experiment with stretching out the legs one at a time. So you're pointing the feet, but you're bringing the heels down onto the floor. So this is a long bridge. If you find that's too much of a strain on the lower back, then bring the feet back, come back into the bridge position. You might need to adjust the bricks back slightly as you extend into the long bridge. And with the legs extended, you could then take the arms up and back behind you and stretch nicely down the front of the body. And then bring the arms back to the sides. And what we could try here is a supported half shoulder stand. So you could do this on two bricks, you might try this just on one brick to start with. So we begin in this supported bridge position and then extend one leg up and then extend the other leg up. And you can raise the arms with the hands back to the hands parallel to the ceiling, the wrists flexed. It's this kind of upside down dog position. And then lowering the feet. Obviously at this point, if you want to come up into a standard half shoulder stand or a shoulder stand, that's fine as well. So just move the bricks out of the way. And then we'll finish with supine twist. So bringing the knees in, well actually let's press down through the feet and slide the hips, again I'll do it mirror image, over to your left, bring the knees into the chest, and then bring the knees down to the right hand side, extending the arms out to the sides, or again you come into the goalpost position. And in fact we could bring the right hand down onto the bent knee, bring the knees down onto something like a brick or a folded blanket also if you can't comfortably get to the floor, so don't hover. You want to be able to relax into the twist. Turn the head face the other way. And then come back to the centre, and then this time shift the hips over to the right, bring the knees into the chest, take the knees over to the left. And again, relax into the twist. And come back to the centre, hug the knees into the chest, once more take an in-breath, and as you breathe out, see if you can lift the shoulders slightly off the floor. Lower back down, keep hands on the knees, big toes together, draw the knees apart, press down on the knees as you lift the chest, arching the back, and then bringing the feet to the floor. And we'll stretch the legs out and finish in Shavasana. Adjusting the body, adjusting the clothing, coming into a comfortable position. Can always do this in a semi-supine position. And again, taking the feet slightly apart if you do, making the feet slightly pigeon-toed to bring the knees together so there's no tension in the leg muscles. So this is nicer if you do have any issues with the lower back. And then we'll take one more deep breath, so breathing into the abdomen, breathing into the rib cage, hold the in-breath. See if you can relax the body as you hold the in-breath rather than tensing. And then slowly breathing out through the lips, making a slight sighing noise. As we bring the body back into a balanced, neutral position, with all the skeletal muscles relaxing. Checking around the body with your mind's eye, looking for any muscles that are retaining tension. And then you can visualize directing your breath to those muscles, feeling them softening and relaxing. Checking that the muscles of the face in particular and the jaw muscles are relaxed and the tongue is dropping down into the lower jaw and the space between the upper and lower sets of teeth. And being aware again of the slow movement of the breath into and out of the body. And remaining here in Shavasana for as long as you wish. And that brings the session to an end. Namaste.